We're taking Preptober seriously now. We have to. So I realized something. My Preptober and Nano project is from a fandom that's really small and is kind of old at this point. So I could show the entire process without spoiling anyone. By the way, that's the cat destroying my room. Disclaimer, obviously, I'm not a professional, but this is how I do things. So obviously this part is pre-recorded because there's no way I would be able to think and narrate at the same time. I tried. It was not good. So when I start outlining, I do it by hand. My brain likes that better for some reason. Eventually I'll hone this in on the computer, but we start here in a notebook. So the first thing I do is I get all the details I need to remember in order to proceed. Usually I've been daydreaming about a project for a while before this point, and I'm just jotting down what I finalized in my brain, but for this particular project, it was writing down things that happened in the previous book. Also, ignore the what can happen header at the top of the page. I seriously underestimated how much space I would need for this first section, and yeah, just ignore that. For anyone wondering, this series is it's been on a 10-year hiatus, so it's not finished. The author has been doing some short stories in the meantime, like one came out last year. So she's still writing it, but the main story is just left up in the air. So some examples of what I write at this stage is this important detail that a major side character is in a coma / kind of fugue state, and obviously I can't write him into any scenes because he can't do anything. Then another good point I need to keep in mind is that another major side character that has up until this point been like a disembodied spirit now has a body and is doing bad things, such as blackmailing our main character's fiancé into doing dangerous stuff. And then down to little things like where a character lives, and this other character is gonna take over the main character's education, like little stuff like that. Also unique to this project is that there is actually a short story that happens after when this story is taking place, so I also put down details of stuff that I have to leave space to occur. For example, one major side character no longer lives in the castle, so that means he got kicked out. Normally I don't have to worry about what happens after the story, so this is kind of a new thing for me. The next thing I do is jot down details for the story that I'm gonna write. So these are things that are happening in the background, things that are gonna happen right as the story opens, things that will cause problems, and like whatever else pops into my head at this point. Many of these things are usually reactions to and situations caused by what I wrote in the previous section. For example, since the main character's fiance's brother is coming back home after pretending to be a traitor for like half a year, that will cause political problems that are gonna smack everyone in the face immediately. Like right as they get off the boat. Problem. Something else I wrote here, there's one of like 4 doomsday weapons like still out in the world somewhere, and the main character wants to destroy all of them, so he'll be getting on that too. So it was also at this point in the process that I realized that this story is going to have 2 separate storylines, and that's kind of a first for me. Like, I've written tons of side plots, but this is 2 major characters together in the beginning, and then splitting up for 2 different adventures, like in completely different countries. I'm actually kind of wondering how I'm going to jam this together. But anyway, at this point I'm just running through my head and thinking, what could happen with the mess of details? How would characters react to things? What do these characters want? Who has problems with who? Etc, etc. And the last handwritten part, we're making a preliminary outline. Now I mentally funnel the mess on the previous pages into something resembling a story. I take the first thing that would happen, in this case the main character getting off the boat back at his kingdom, and then I just think, what would happen next if this was happening in real life? I'm not worrying about drama or story beats or anything else, just thinking about how all the pieces would realistically fall with all the background details I wrote down in place. Now, there are 2 points where I thought, hey, maybe this would fit into this beat, but that was only after I wrote it and stared at the page for a really long time. Since there are 2 storylines in this one, I tried to switch back and forth and not stay stuck on one person too long. But otherwise, there's not much else to say about this. I'm just organizing my thoughts. But of course, the most important thing that happens in this outline is kicking the racist old man who knocked up and married a 16-year-old out of the castle. And it works because everyone hates him. I am still so mad that the anime tried to rehabilitate him. Go back to house arrest. No one likes you, Gegenhuber. So at the end of this, like, a final image just kind of naturally appeared on the page. I didn't have to think about that or, you know, plan that. It just naturally happened. And I am all for that. Okay, so handwritten part done. Alright, so now the last step is to put all of this into the computer. Normally, I just take like a blank thing, like this blank generic Scrivener thing, and then delete all the extra crap out of it and just put each scene in a list. But I have this beat sheet here that I've never used, and I figured fanfic is a good experimental thing, so we're gonna do that. Now I just gotta figure out how to use this. What would probably help is if I got the actual things. Okay, so here's her explanation of all the stuff that goes in here. Huh. Okay, so, oh look, we can set the point of view character here. Hero. Jotai. Okay. So, let's change these. So moving to narration, since I'm pretty sure you don't want to sit here and watch me figure this all out for an hour, let's talk about how I tackled this mess. That being said, this time was a lot simpler than other times, because apparently I kind of followed a general beat structure without even thinking about following a general beat structure. In the end, there were only like 2 scenes, like 2 extra scenes that I had to add in, and like 1 that I had to break up into 2 different parts. So I keep the details pretty simple. If it doesn't fit on the index card without having to scroll, it's too much info. Now, I used to get really detailed, like I would be writing pieces of dialogue and specific things that happened, like character movements, but as I've moved more towards a planter lifestyle, I mean, it just seems like wasted work, you know? Because the more detailed I make it, the more I have to change. So anyway, the most brain-intensive part of this is trying to jam it into the beat structure and like elaborating on things, you know? I think my word count went from maybe, let me check. Okay, so the word count in the handwritten book that I counted up days ago to add to Millwordy, that was around 400 something. And the word count here in the computer ended up 984, because I also counted that up for Millwordy. So I doubled. Each little thing, I got a little more detail, a little more thought put into it, and it all fell into a good structure. You see, if I started in the computer, then I wouldn't have added so much. It would have been more difficult to elaborate and move things around. So it's easy to get my preliminary thoughts down on something that I can't just copy paste over and then fix it up while I'm transferring, if that makes sense. So handwriting has two benefits. It's easier for me to brainstorm while I'm handwriting, and it's easier to edit the brainstorming if it's handwritten. But anyway, back to my bad audio quality for my little outro. Okay, that's it. Let's there we go. So yeah, okay, everyone's kind of dispersed. We have trading off. Once we split, then we trade off pretty well. We got a double here and then a double here, but that's it. This is good. I think I really like this template. I'm gonna link it down below. I mean, it didn't fit perfectly, but it fit mostly, and then it made me add things that I hadn't even thought about. I don't think there's much else to say. We'll see how all the word counts work out when I actually start writing. I think this is designed for like an 85,000 thing. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be that long. But anyway, that's it for the outlining process, and I guess I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.